And good morning once again, everyone. My name is Jackie, and it is my pleasure to share with you the history of this property. There are exhibits on the grounds that will share with you additional information on the sugarcane process, the Civil War, and slavery. As we continue throughout the mansion, I will ask that everyone would please stay together as a group as we start here in the parlor. Photography is allowed. Your cameras are welcome. Flash is welcome as well. Here I would like to share with you the beginning history of the original owners of this mansion. They are Jacques and Selina Roman. Their portraits are here on this wall. Jacques and Selina were married in 1834 at the St. Louis Cathedral in New Orleans. They were both from prosperous New Orleans families. They did have a home in the French Quarter. Jacques realized this property, which included majestic lane of oak trees, which are estimated at 100 years old at that time, the perfect place for he and his family. He acquired the estate from his brother-in-law, which was an established sugarcane plantation, along with 57 slaves, and begins to build their home. The mansion is constructed in a Greek revival style of architecture. Features were added to keep the family comfortable during the summer months. Some of those features included the 13-foot deep veranda, which surrounds the entire home. Ceilings are 12.5 feet high. Walls of the home, exterior, including interior, are solid brick, which measure 16 inches thick. Doors and windows face each other for cross ventilation. The home does take 2.5 years to complete, because the materials found here in the plantation are manufactured here by the skilled slaves. The only elements brought in, the slate for the roof, and the marble, which was originally here. Interesting in this room and throughout the home, I'd like you to notice that all mantles and baseboards do look like marble. Actually, these are wood. They're cypress wood, painted with a technique called faux marble, which means fake marble. And of course, after so many years here, these have been refinished, but whenever they are, they're always done in the same hand technique. During the history of this plantation, we've had several owners living here. I will share the history of the first and last owners. They were the most successful. But in between, we've had an owner who was an agricultural partnership, who used the rich farmland, not the home. The mansion was abandoned for a number of years, where the animals of the area would use this beautiful home as shelter. But thankfully, in the 1900s, our last owners would arrive. They were the stewards. It is they that we give credit for bringing the home back to the way you see it today. I will share their history with you on the second level. Also, before leaving the room, I'd like to share with you that all of our tour has been brought back to the 1800s period of time. Jacques and Selina were originally here. So all furniture, all antiques date back to that time period and what a French Creole family may have had in their home. The Rolands were French Creole. Now the term Creole was used in different ways during Louisiana's history. The word is derived from a Spanish word which means born native. It was used in that aspect. It was used as a social class distinction by the very wealthy French or Spanish that were here in the 1700s and 1800s. It was used to describe a slave who was born here. It also made reference to mixed blood. Depending on the era and the area we're speaking of, it was used in different ways. When you hear me speak of Jacques and Selina being French Creole, they're from that very wealthy, elite class of people that were here in the 1800s. Well, as we leave this room to continue into our next, I'd like you to notice on the bureau this sketch portrait. This is Andre Bienvenu Roman. He is Jacques' brother. Andre served as governor twice of Louisiana during the 1800s. This will help you understand the dynamics of the Roman family. Very wealthy, very influential, and also politically involved at that time period. Well, as we continue throughout the mansion, there are objects that are original to the family. Those I will point out to you during our tour. I would also like to share with you a bit of information about the alley of oak trees. The written history of these trees begins here in the 1820s, when Valcour, Jacques' brother-in-law, would own the property. Everything that is told to him by the locals that were here. They determined the age of the trees at that time only by the size they were, approximately 100 years. We assume the planter of the trees to be French because of the way the trees are planted. French settlers would arrive in these areas, plant trees in a symmetrical form, even number, facing north and south, and on a ridge. as these trees are. The area where the house sits, where the trees are located, is said to be the highest elevation in St. James Parish, which is 10 feet above sea level, which means little to folks up north, but a great deal to folks here. Selena's father, Gilbert Gilliard, who we assume helped design the mansion, was a land surveyor. He knew the elevation here. On designing the home, it was designed on the ground level. We've had no history of flooding into this mansion. We would also assume the reason the trees are planted. Funnel cool air from the north, the south, or from the waterway, in our case, the Mississippi River. We have no knowledge of who planted these trees or when they were planted here. We would also assume the planter of the trees would have a home here. When you consider the construction of the mansion, we are on the ground level. There's much digging involved. During the digging phase, there was no evidence of any large structure here before this one, so we would assume, and we would be hopeful, the planter of the trees would have a home here, and also enough time to witness the beauty which they have created. We have no evidence of that happening either. We will continue into our next room, which is directly across the hallway. I'd like to caution everyone, as we continue throughout the mansion, there will be a threshold at the bottom of each door frame, so please be aware of that as we continue through. If you please follow, we will continue through these doors across the hallway into the dining room, and welcome ladies. Continue across the hallway. Now just to let you know,
Look at that piano. Look at that piano.
Yeah.
Chess. There's a huge house. Not my
the chairs that you do see along the walls are available for our guests, so if there's a need, you are welcome to use those chairs. And this is where Jock and Selena's guests would serve a delicious meal, a meal that was prepared, cooked, and served by the slaves of this plantation. Jock and Selena's slave cooks were men. Their names were Hyacinth, Martin, and Basile. And during those dinners, a young slave boy between the ages of 10 to 14 years old would stand in this corner for many hours operating this fan. His job, keep the fan continuously moving fast enough to create a nice breeze, but not so fast as to blow off the heat. This is a punka. It originates from India, commonly called the shoe fly fan. In the summer months, mold ice was placed on the center of the table. The air cooled out ice, leaving a very comfortable environment. You may question, where would the ice come from in such a humid area? Ice was available to the deep south in the 1800s. It was carved from ice flows up north as far as Canada, insulated really well, and delivered down the river to very wealthy southerners. We do have invoices that show Jacques spent a great deal of money on ice for some of this farming. Would like you to notice the table and the chairs, which are very low to the floor. That is because the average height of the French Creole gentleman of that time was 5 feet 4 inches. The average height of the ladies was right under 5 feet. On the table, you will notice the silverware is placed face down. Now this was a French Creole traditional style of the time. The silverware that we have here today does not have any monogram on it. During Jacques and Selena's time, the family's crest was engraved on the back, and that is the reason it is placed face down. Notice the size as well, it's quite large. Silverware was made of silver. The more wealth and status a family owned, the larger their silverware was. In just a moment, we will continue on to the second level of the mansion, but because of our large room, limited space at the top of the stairs, I will explain the first two rooms here. We will continue on to the second level. I will allow you to view those rooms. We will be again at the center of the hall. First room we come to could be used as a guest room for Jacques and Selena's overnight guests. The most interesting use, mourning room. In the event of a death in the family, The body of the deceased was placed in that room for the family and friends to come in and pay their last respects. But as you look in, you will notice the mirrors are draped with netting. Now this was done due to the superstition that if mirrors were not covered, the spirit of the deceased may become trapped inside. All mirrors of the home are covered in that fashion. Across the hallway will be our children's nursery. During Dr. Selena's marriage, there were 6 children born into their family, 3 daughters, 3 sons. 1 daughter passed away at the age of 12 of tuberculosis. 2 sons at a very young age of yellow fever. So of the 6 children, there were 3 surviving children. Please consider the slaves that were here. Medical care of the rural family was limited, even more so for the slaves. As you would imagine, the death rate amongst the slaves was higher than the wealthy families that were here at that time. Before we leave you, I'd like you to notice the portrait here on the wall. This is Val Graham, his wife, Josephine. This is the couple of the estate was acquired from in the 1800s. Josephine is Jacques' sister. They were also sugarcane plantation owners here along this stretch of the river, but sadly their home is no longer with us. To give you the idea of how elaborate their home and gardens were, it was made with a petite Versailles, much more elaborate than the home that we're staying in this morning. The property is located a mile away from us. As you leave Oak Alley property on Highway 18, you will come to a Blue Roof School. Before driving there, you will notice a historical marker on the side of the road. It describes our fort and the 15th Versailles. We'll look past the sugarcane field. There's a wooded area. That is where the mansion and the gardens were located. Sadly, the mansion was destroyed by accidental fire in the early 1900s, or was abandoned 2 years before. Next door to us, St. Joseph's Plantation. Not far away from Elizabeth's Plantation. Those properties were wedding gifts to Ralph Ford and Josephine's 2 daughters. This does indicate a very populated area before the Civil War. These families know each other either through business or through family relations. This door in the 1800s. It would lead into the butler's pantry. All food prepared in kitchens outdoors, separate from the home because of the heat, since the food was cooked over an open flame and because of the danger of accidental fire. Not until the 1920s, our last owner, Stewart arrived. They were the first to add a kitchen into the home. It was added there, to that door. But today, we will not visit that room for our tour because we now use it as our office. And it will be the only room you will not use while you are here in the home. We will continue on to the 2nd level. We will not be at any one room. We'll be in the hallway. So at any time during our tour on the 2nd level, you're welcome to walk the hallway and view the rooms that we have there. And please, as we continue onto the staircase, we do ask our guests to continue up in a single file, using the handrail against the wall on your left. It is a stronger of the 2. But of course, if there is a need to use the banister, that would be okay. Whatever is most comfortable for you. So if you please follow, we'll continue through these doors and on to the 2nd level.
She's crazy. So, that's actually fine. Only one?
Top of the stairs on your left will be the guest room or the morning room. Here you will notice the mirrors are draped with netting, and across the hallway the children's nursery. Dr. and Selena were attended parents, but they did You will notice we do have a third level to the home. But due to strict fire codes, we're not allowed to take this stairs. There's only one entrance and exit, not missing anything. It is used for storage today. As it would have been during Dr. Sweet's time, third level is the attic of the home. As you can see now, you're welcome to do so. On your left is the master bedroom. Both doorways open up to one room. Directly across the hallway, the very far corner on the right, will be the lavender room. In the 1800s, the lavender room was used either as a guest room, possibly a bedroom, of one of the older daughters here during the Remote time. But today, we have it in a very special place of honor, which I will explain in just a moment. You will notice there are two areas in the hallway, two doorways, which are sealed off. In the 1800s, these doorways led into sitting rooms, small parlors, ladies visiting on one side and gentlemen on the opposite. The last owners, the stewards arrived, they added bathrooms and closets. They used these areas to do so. So as you look,
There's something moving in
you'll notice doorways. Those today needed the bathrooms and closets, but originally, those walls were solid. Entrance and exit of the sitting rooms only available here in the hallway. The reason the door panels were left behind, the ones here on our right. You will notice some writing on these panels.
That's creepy.
French Creole tradition. Original owner would sign a piece of his home once it was complete. In the panel furthest away from me at the top, it is written in the years 1837, 38, and 39 by J.T. Lamont. This is Jacques' signature. Owners who arrived later would also sign on this panel, not necessarily French Creole, but they would carry on the tradition. Even contractors who have done work here throughout the home's history have signed their names to these doors. The map in the middle will date 1858, before the Civil War. It highlights the area plantations along the Mississippi River at that time. So this is New Orleans. We'll continue up Baton Rouge. These are sugarcane plantations. Sugarcane is a tropical plant. Does well in our climate, but mostly our soil. North of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Natchez, Mississippi. These are cotton plantations. Cotton does not do well here. It will rot before it can ripen. Our soil is simply too wet. But if you are interested in locating Oak Alley on this map, it is listed as a state of J.T. Vermont. You will notice all areas of land are long and narrow, and that is so that each plantation owner has access to the Mississippi River. And once again, you are welcome to walk the hallway and view the rooms that we have here. I'd like to point out in the master bedroom items with green ribbon. The beautiful baby cradle, which is hand-carved rosewood. Next to the cradle, the child's chair, a doll, or more. Those are original pieces of the Remote family. You will also notice in the master bedroom on the ceiling, above the chandelier, that beautiful medallion. This medallion is thought to be one of the older objects of the home. It is made of horsehair and plaster. So we're very fortunate to have it with us today. At this time, I would like to share with you the remaining history of the Remote family. As I do, I will use the portraits here on this wall. So if you could please, just one or two steps away from the wall here. As I begin, I will begin in the center. This is Jacques, his wife Selena on his right, and these are their 6 children. 3 silhouettes represent 3 children who died young. We have no images of those 3. During Jacques and Selena's time here, there was much wealth and luxury. There was also sadness and grief. Jacques and Selena did lose 2 young sons, Albert and George, at a very young age of yellow fever. Jacques himself was not a healthy man. He contracts tuberculosis in 1848. At the age of 48, he dies here. Selena, his wife, does continue with the family's business. She is not a businesswoman. In his will, Jacques has declared his brother, the governor, as overseer of the family's finances. Selena disregards all budgets. He eventually legally removes himself from many of the family's business and his sister-in-law, Selena Ramon. Sadly, she loses a 3rd child, Marie, at the age of 12 of tuberculosis, and Selena's spending increased. 11 years after the death of her husband, Jacques, she is forced to turn control to their son, Henri, when he turns 20 in 1859. He desperately tries to hold on to his family's homestead. He argues with his mother. and sisters, Louise and Octavie, over the running of the family's estate. But with his mother's continued mismanagement and the South's loss of the Civil War, he is forced to give up his dream of holding on to his father's plantation. March 12, 1866, he turns this property over to their creditors. 2 days later, his mother, Selina, dies at the age of 50. On December 15, 1866, the entire plantation, which includes the home, most of the family's furnishings, and 1,200 acres of land, it is put up at a public auction. It receives the price of $32,800. At that time, Selina's debt extends over $32,000. The remaining children go their separate ways. Louise becomes a Carmelite nun and establishes an order in New Orleans. Octavie dies 1 year later, leaving behind her husband and 3 children. Henri goes from various jobs. Eventually, he settles down and prospers in the state of Mississippi. So it starts off as a happy story. It ends sadly here for the Ramones. But of course, after so many years here, we do have a lot of history in this home. I'd like to draw your attention very briefly back to this map. In 1858, before the Civil War, from New Orleans to Baton Rouge, we estimate 500 properties there, majority of those having a mansion, like you're visiting today. So the lower number, I will suggest 400 mansions. But to date, the last number that I'm aware of, 19 mansions remain. When you consider the effects of the Civil War, this wealth was no longer available. It was very difficult to maintain a mansion and also run a business. The mansions were considered obsolete. The majority were abandoned, as this one had been. But we were fortunate in the 1920s to have our last owners arrive. As I share their history, we'll focus on the lavender room here at the corner. So certainly if you'd like to walk over to this end of the hallway and view the room as I speak, you're welcome to do so. But in the lavender room, you will notice portraits above the desk. Miss Josephine Armstrong Stewart. Her husband, Mr. Andrew, his portrait is next to the window. Stewart's purchased this property in 1925 at a cost of $50,000, using another $60,000 to renovate the home. Home was livable, was in a state of disrepair, certainly not up to the standards Miss Josephine felt it should be. So they lived here together for many years. Sadly, in 1946, at the age of 74, Mr. Andrew would pass away in the master bedroom, which they both shared. Miss Josephine would no longer sleep in that room. She would take her things, and she moves across the hall. Lavender, her favorite color. In her honor, this room has been left as it was in her time here. All pictures, all effects are directly from Miss Josephine. This is the only room of our tour that has not been brought back to the 1800s period of time. Also in her honor, all clocks of the house have been stopped at 6:30, time of day that she passed away here in 1972 at the age of 93 years old. She lived here for 46 years, longer than any owner before her. She and her husband were not blessed with children before she passed away. Along with her younger sister, Julia's children, whose family's name is Mayhew, established a non-profit foundation for the cultural and historical preservation of Oak Alley Plantation. So it is thanks to Ms. Josephine we're able to share in this unique piece of history here in St. James Parish. I am about to show you one of the most beautiful sights of all of Southeast Louisiana, a site that Jacques and Selina were in awe of the first time that they stepped out in their front gallery, a site that Ms. Josephine felt was too beautiful not to share with the rest of the world. So if I could please, especially with religious lords, have everyone here please take a few steps back on this end of the carpeting. I'd like everyone to face the doors, please. Sir, if you would, continue here. Thank you. I will switch places with you, and I will present to you the oaks of Oak Alley. Please watch your step, and please come up this way. So we will continue here on the veranda. Before we continue around the veranda, I do have more information to share with everyone. If you'd like to look into the lavender room or the master bedroom before,
holy crap. This is
hold on a minute. Let's see. There you go.
give you any personal experiences I've had.
I ain't gonna go to that age.
I can tell you that we're often alone in the house at night. Well, we have wedding ceremonies.
That's too close.
So most
That's
often
too close.
after the ceremonies, we're still.
It's not look sturdy.
So if we're not here alone in the house, you're never alone. That's all, you're never alone. Always present. Always present. Yeah. So the house is thought to be
It's
one.
a long fall.
Yeah, of course. We've been here so many years, and we have so many families, so much lives that were here. Certainly would suggest that we still have to. Now, the alley of oak trees planted here in the 1700s by an unknown French settler, planting 28 trees, 14 on each side, which does create a quarter-mile avenue from here to the Mississippi River. Today, we estimate the age of the trees at 300 years old. They do have a life expectancy of 600 years. These are Virginia live oaks. The levee live, and considered live because they're constantly breathing.
They're trying to take a picture, Ken. Oh, duh.
We have various species of oak trees here as well. Okay.
What?
Can you?
Oh, yeah.
It's quite possible. There was a natural levee that would have formed, but when these properties were established in the 1700s, each property owner was required to have a levee in front of their property. That's correct. So at that time, 5 to 10 feet in height. So each property owner determined the height. 1927, there was a major flooding that would occur here, and the Army Corps of Engineers was introduced, and the levees were then regulated at 30 feet above sea level. So certainly before the 1920s, and especially when Jacques and Selena were here, they could stand here on the gallery and have seen the waters of the Mississippi River. Now I have had the opportunity to visit the third level and onto the Widow's Walk, onto the roof, and even today from that angle you cannot see the Mississippi River wall. Trees are just too high, and actually the curve of the river would have indicated that's not possible anymore.
How far is the Mississippi?
Actually a quarter of
This
a
thing's on an angle.
Yeah.
I don't like that. It's on an angle.
So the water runs off.
Now the trees are included in a historical oak society. They are named after various owners during our history. So here in front of us, on the right is Jacques, on the left is Selena. As you continue down on the left, the 9th tree down, the largest tree here, in honor of our last owner, Miss Josephine. When she established the nonprofit foundation, she set aside 28 acres of land where the house sits, where the trees are located. The rest of the Oak Alley property originally, 1,200 acres, about 1,160 acres today, which is privately owned by the same family members of Miss Josephine who run the foundation. She did leave her family with assets, but she did leave the home in the oak tree open for the public. Also interesting to note, when the Stewarts were here, they did not grow sugarcane. Miss Josephine was born and raised on a cattle ranch in Texas, Armstrong Cattle Ranch, which is adjacent to the King Ranch in Texas. She and her husband purchased the property was not for profit of the sugarcane. It was a retirement venture. A breed of cattle from Texas was delivered here. Santa Gertrudis cattle from the King's Ranch would graze here on the front lawn. As time went on, her husband had passed away. She was getting older as well. She decides to send the cattle back to Texas. At that time, 600 acres of sugarcane farmland is then leased to area farmers, which is actually how the plantation is run today. So if it had not been for her foresight and her financial ability to establish the nonprofit foundation, we do assume this property would have been sold after her death. Most likely the mansion abandoned once again, and we would not be here today. So we are very blessed to have Ms. Josephine and Mr. Andrew as our last owners. Do you have any questions here in the veranda? Okay, this would be the time, if you would like, to take your last minute pictures with the oak trees. Because we will slowly continue off towards the right. As we move on, I'd like you to notice on the ground level, next to two oak trees, those large iron kettles. you passed one as you came up the back alley. Those are sugar kettles. They were used in the sugar mill. As the juice was extracted from the sugar cane, it was boiled or cooked in those kettles for long periods of time over and over the flame. As the juice would boil, impurities would fall to the top. It was the job of the slaves to remove all impurities using a large awkward tool called a skimmer. Also a difficult job because of the time frame of the sugar process. The sugarcane harvesting would begin in October. The entire process may continue past January. At that time, once one kettle would complete its boiling process, always another one to take its place. As we continue here,
Actually, the sugar, when they did that, they could not granulate it. They had to just make like a syrup, right?
well, what was happening was it was called a Jamaican train, a series of 4 kettles, larger to smaller. Evaporation process over an open flame. As the process would go on, it would become a little bit thicker and thicker. Somewhere in that lime, L-I-M-E, was added to the substance to help with the granulation process and also for the acidity to lower it. So by the time you would have the substance in the last kettle, that was then removed and it was placed in a hogshead, which was a wooden barrel, and at the very top of the barrel there were holes that were drilled at the top. So the molasses or the syrup would rise to the top and the granulated substance would stay at the bottom. So from these properties, before the Civil War, only brown, raw, granulated sugar. Refineries in the New Orleans area. That technology was beginning here on these properties as well, but it would not continue because of the Civil War. So of course, before and after the Civil War, technology would indicate that the process was done in much different ways.
8%.
I've heard stories about it.
Yes.
When they first started out, they were experimenting, trying to find out how to get the
That's
sugar.
correct, yeah. And there was a lot of experimenting, but you would want to understand as well, and most of these families had their roots before arriving here in Louisiana in the West Indies area.
Yeah,
They were already very well schooled in the process of sugar.
And like this place would have their own
Oh,
manufacturing. They didn't do like now they send it to a factory.
Of course not.
They had, and then another one down the road had
Before
another
the Civil War, these were self-contained
contained.
properties where everything was done here. After the Civil War, things would change
It's
very
kinda
quickly in
changed
all
a little,
aspects. Now, the building in front of us will have an exhibit on the sugarcane process. It continued through the garden area towards the right of Civil War encampment. This is the area where the exterior kitchen was located until the Stewarts arrived and introduced the first kitchen into the home. This is then converted into a formal garden. So the brickwork, the boxwood hedging that you see here has been here since the 1920s. During Jacques and Selena's time, servants and domestics were terms used to describe house slaves. Jacques and Selena's 20 house slaves, 50% were men. Female slaves would take care of the mansion and the family members. As I spoke of the young men operating the polka fan in the dining room, their names were William, Urson, and Raphael. Once they would reach a certain age, they would then train to work in the exterior kitchen. As we continue, the bell on the ground level, which you just witnessed a few moments ago, was used to regulate life here on the plantation. Each ring had a different meaning. Everyone who lived here understood those. Each property would also have its own bell. So it's a very elaborate system of communication in the 1800s. But today, when we use the bell, it does signal the start of a new tour. The bell was located at the cottage that you can see through the trees. This was the overseer's cottage. He was in charge of the plantation when the owner was not available. But today, this is a private home of Mr. Zeb Mayhew Jr., who is the director of the nonprofit foundation. Mr. Mayhew is Miss Josephine's great nephew, her younger sister Julia's grandson. The foundation and plantation are in the hands of Miss Josephine's family today. We do continue on to the back gallery. Now here you will notice our beautiful southern magnolia tree. And we do have one remaining blossom right here pretty much at the banister level. We are at the end of the season for the magnolia. But this magnolia tree was also planted by the Stewart family. As we continue here, I will stop in front of this door, but you're welcome to step out just a bit further. It will give you a better view of the alley here towards the back. Now directly beyond this alley of oaks, the slave cabins. There were 20 cabins located there. But due to time and the elements, they have all been destroyed. In the 1800s, under Jacques and Selena, out of Jacques' death, 1848, there were 93 field slaves working here, along with 20 house slaves. We do have a plaque which represents that time period. It lists the men, women, and children who live and work on this plantation. The plaque is located down the back alley next to two large oak trees. If you have not visited the slavery exhibit on your arrival here, please, before you leave this property, take some time to do so. We have conducted tours here for many years. Ms. Josephine, our last
What is this?
tours here herself.
Nothing. Just paint it over.
It is long
turn down the light. Yeah.
It did not end for their sacrifice, their labor, their 1800s lifestyle. It's simply not possible. Now we do have one more room for us. It is located down. If you would please, give me one moment. I'll be about to
Huh?
Boys or hot?
Both.
It looks like we are, so you please follow.
Mine's still going. Mine's still going. I'm trying to